prayer, and then we'll remain standing, please, and join together in the pledge to the flag. Let's bow together. Father, we glorify your name. Thank you for this day, for the blessings of life, for this group that's gathered. We ask that you will direct us in our deliberations and decisions today. Help us to glorify you in all that we do. In Christ's name, amen. Amen. Join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We do want to welcome you here to the commission meeting today. Thank you for your interest in the business of the county. We're kind of doing dual purpose here this morning. We've scheduled a public hearing to start at 9 o'clock, so if there is no objection, we'll just enter into the public hearing session of our morning, and the topic is the ABC license application for Soggy Bottom Tavern. Jim Myrick, Jim's with us today, so I think the schedule will be like this. We'll invite Jim to come and present to the commission what his plans are, what he's proposed or submitted a license application to ABC board for. And the ABC receives the application, does background checks and other things pertinent to the application, then they submit it down to the local governing entity, the county commission in this case, for consideration. Then it goes back with our recommendation or vote of acceptance or agreement or disagreement with the application, and ABC board in Montgomery actually is the final authority to make the decision on issuance of a license. So the public hearing is to accept input relative to this application, and the commission would plan to take that input into consideration as we deliberate the application. I think it'd be best to have invite Jim to come and present your application. Jim, if you'll come to the podium. And then what we'll plan to do is this. I know there may be some here that want to speak for it, some against it. I'm going to give Jim a little extra time to present his case, invite questions from the commissioners when you finish up, Jim, and then others will invite you to come for or against. We'll limit comments to about 2 minutes, roughly 2 minutes each. And if we get over about 3 for, 3 against, we'll probably stop the discussion unless there's new information coming forth. But it begins to get very repetitive. If nobody opposes, we'll limit that a little bit, kind of play it by ear. Jim, well.
Yep, thank you, sir. Yeah, I had applied for a private license for Soggy Bottom a couple of 3 years ago, and when you apply for a license like that, the first person they call is the fire marshal. Well, I got him up there, and he told me I'd have to have a fire suppressant system in the bar there. So I called the company to put that in, and come to find out there's no water up there to support a fire suppressant system. So I then built a building, fire tank, storage tank, amounted to about $114,000 to have a fire suppressant system so I could have a private license in order to run the club like I wanted to. And about the time we got all that done, we had a shooting.
Can I interrupt you just for a second? So you said you're making an application for private club license?
Yes, sir.
Private, and what you've been operating under previously was what?
It was a lounge license.
Okay. Just
yeah,
for clarity.
You know, I never was open. A private license give you an opportunity to stay open 7 days a week if you want to. There's really no need having that club open, that much. But, sometime if you have an event like a car show or a poker run or something like that, then you could be open on Sunday. That don't mean that I'd be open every Sunday or stay open 7 days a week, 24 hours. I didn't plan to do that and still don't plan to do it. The business is it's just not there to support, being open that much. So anyhow, like I said, about the time that we had everything ready to go, ready to apply for that, we had that shooting up there. There were shootings the next day, the next week, the same bunch. Wherever that boy was at that night, he was gonna get shot. So it really wasn't anything directly related to the club or anything like that. I never condoned any type of dope or drugs up there. We scanned everybody that came in the door for metal, weapons, anything like that. We did everything we could to keep people out of there. And if I can get these licenses, we then can vote. Members can vote if there's somebody there that they don't like or whatever, or it's not doing like they should, they can be voted out. They can be voted out.
Okay. So just to recap, your application is for a private club license, not a lounge license. You had operated several years under a lounge license.
Yes, sir.
And you've met the fire marshal's requirement and spent the money already for
I did.
the
He
fire
came and
suppression
approved that.
system.
He came and approved what we had done.
Okay.
It's just basically had to have. There's like I said, there's no water up that road. A 3-inch line from 84, which doesn't hardly support anything for its volume and everything that it takes to run a fire sprinkler.
Right.
So, I mean, basically, we had everything ready, and about the time that happened. And as far as some of the things I've seen, like beer cans in the ditch or whatever, if they throw cans out of the car or something, they don't leave there. They don't leave the club with those cans or bottles or whatever it might be. We have somebody at the door. They don't leave there. If they have it in their car, they have it in their car. I'm not, privileged to go out and say, hey, I'm gonna search your car, or I need to search your trunk or under your seat or whatever. We don't do that.
Okay.
Anybody have any questions?
Well, we're gonna limit questions to the commission up here. So, does anybody have any questions you want to ask of Jim while he's at the podium? Stephanie, you have something?
I do. You had mentioned about the private club license that would allow you to stay open more, so that you could. And you had mentioned some events. Did you have something in mind as far as what type of events?
Yeah. I want to be a social club. We did things like for Katie's Army cancer fundraisers and things like that. We did that. Car shows and stuff like that to make up money for cancer patients.
Okay.
And I wanted, like on a weekend, if people drive a long way up there for a car show or a meet like that, then it really needs to go on Saturday and Sunday if they drive way off from somewhere.
What were your existing hours of operation before the private club license?
I could stay open 6.5 days a week.
What did you do?
What
was
I
your
do?
normal practice? Yeah.
I only open on Friday and Saturday night,
2 days a week.
2 nights a week,
Okay. And how long have you had that business?
since 2011.
Okay. And once that shooting happened, was your license suspended at that point?
Well, sheriff and one of his deputies went and protested renewing the license.
Okay. And so has it been suspended indefinitely since then, or?
Yeah, it hasn't been open since then.
Which is why you're having to go back through this process. I understand about the liquor
Right.
license, but
Right.
you just went ahead and we're gonna do both at one time.
Are you seeking renewing the liquor license or only the private club?
Liquor license.
It's a liquor license, but not a lounge license. A private club is in place of the lounge license, right?
Well, a private license and liquor license all kind of go hand in hand. Yeah. You wouldn't want to have that club open if you couldn't have any alcohol.
No, well, but I meant the lounge license that you did operate under.
It just required you to close at 2 o'clock on Sunday morning.
That was the main difference.
Well,
That
what
was the
What I'm
only
reading, it
difference.
looks like you're applying for a liquor license and a private license.
Yeah,
Okay, okay. You had mentioned about the time that you had, come in compliance with whatever the fire marshal had asked you to do is the time that that shooting had happened, and that shooting, you said something about there being a shooting that day, that night, and next week. What were you talking about?
as the guy got shot up there.
Okay.
Yeah.
When did that happen?
That was June, I don't remember exactly the date. What day was the month? The third.
Okay.
June first.
Is that the first time that there had been any sort of shooting?
Absolutely.
Okay. Have there been any other sort of criminal infractions or issues with any type of agency? whether
We
it's
never
sh-
called the county up there one time. I mean, they showed up a lot. They would come and just sit in the driveways and spin their lights, for no reason. And then they'd put a roadblock on both ends of the road and threaten people if they went to the bar.
Okay. You also had mentioned that no one brought drugs in there because you had some sort of system in place?
The one I'm talking about basically detects metal, like a gun or a knife or something like that.
Was that put in place at the time of the shooting, or?
No, we've always done that.
Did the shooting happen inside of the building or outside?
Right at the back door, right at the back door. I think somebody came around the back, my way of seeing that, I think somebody came around the back and threw that gun up on the porch back there.
Have you had an opportunity to look through the petition of some of the citizens and people that travel the road and live on the road, and what their complaints were about the?
No, I have not. I did see what was in the newspaper.
Okay. And I hate to put you on the spot, but did you have any sort of response or something that you
No.
felt that you could do differently to put in place that would, prevent some of these issues?
Well, I don't really know what all the issues are. Whatever it is, I mean, I apologize to anybody that I've offended with that club, but the part I seen about the beer cans in the ditch and stuff like that, it didn't come from my place.
Okay. Let me just read a few of them
Okay.
to you, and I know you said you saw it in the paper, but people leaving the bar with alcohol and hanging out in the parking lot after the bar closes.
A lot of times there would be a lot of cars there, and it might be 20 minutes before everybody got out. But as soon as the bar closed, this is one of my security people right here. He went out and made sure everybody was off the parking lot.
Okay.
But now sometime it might be 20 minutes or so before everybody could get out.
Okay. People leaving the bar and sitting in their vehicles in front of houses blaring
No.
music after midnight.
No, I never knew. That's the first I've heard of that.
Okay. And you had mentioned about the beer cans and bottles thrown all over the road in the ditches.
I never really seen that. I mean, I'm not saying it didn't happen, but I never really seen that.
Do you have any issues with DTF, the ABC board, anything while you've been in business? And you said you've been in business since 2011 there?
Right.
And y'all been open the entirety of that time since 2011?
Except for the last 24 months or since the shooting.
Say again now.
Except for the last couple of, 24 months or so since the shooting took place.
It's been a year.
A year.
1 year, you've been
Yeah.
closed that year, right?
Been a year and a couple months,
Okay.
3 months.
Thank you, Jim.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
I'd like to just enter into this petitions. That's just some people that would like to have the bar open.
Okay,
I just got a few people to sign
Okay.
everything.
Good.
Sent that to you.
thank you.
All right, thank
All
you.
right. Feel like there's some that want to speak in opposition, probably. I've not talked to anybody directly, but I'm sure commissioners have, and we'll open the floor. Is there somebody that would like to step forward at this time? All right. Again, we'll have 2 or 3 in opposition, and if there are any that want to speak in favor, I will certainly entertain their comments as well. We'll ask you to limit it to about 2 minutes. Will that give you enough time?
It should.
Okay.
It should. Commissioners and Chairman, I appreciate the opportunity to speak to you on this matter. I live very close to the Soggy Bottom. Beer cans in the ditches and beer bottles and drunk drivers, that's just the least of the problems. I mean, the music sometimes goes on till 4 o'clock in the morning. I mean, Mr. Myrick says the parking lot's cleared out by 20 minutes after the bar closes. That's a falsehood. I mean, the bar sometimes didn't close till the sun was coming up. He may not have been there, but I've been up there on several occasions when they're out in the parking lot with their doors open, alcohol in their hands or whatever they're smoking in the other hand. And most of the tags were not local tags. Several occasions I've gone up on the mission to tell them to turn the music down and didn't dare. People coming to my house banging on the door in the middle of the night, or going to my shop banging on the door thinking they're at the bar. Various other people on the road having problems with people showing up in the middle of the night. I mean, one particular case, a man pulling open his shirt and telling the man to shoot him that he was Superman. And he had walked through the woods, through the backside of the woods to the man's house. Another one, gentleman walking up the driveway, hey, where's my girlfriend? Where's my girlfriend? To another resident. Another resident, I mean, just banging on the door in the middle of the night, scaring the crap out of the guy's little girl. That's unneeded in the community. I mean, they say they're a peaceable place, but there've been multiple stabbings. I mean, one person that used to tend bar there told me how they used to serve minors there and didn't care as long as somebody had $1 to spend. Also told me that drugs were fluent throughout the club, that if you wanted it, all you had to do is go to the bar. Now that's hearsay on my part. I heard it from them. I'm repeating it here. The community don't need it. We haven't had to clean up our road as much. Now, there's still a few beer cans here and there. I mean, when the dude rolled it off the bridge, when he was drunk, they done a good job of cleaning up all the beer cans and getting somebody to come in before the law arrived to get the truck out of the ditch. When they run it over the bank above my house and took out a man's mailbox, they done a good job getting somebody there before the law got there to get the vehicle out of there, get the person out of there. I mean, yeah, they don't call the law, but they got somebody that'll come and pick the stuff up for them. So, that's all I got to say.
You may have given us your name, but I missed it. Give us your name
Kevin
for the record.
Andrews.
Kevin what?
Andrews.
Andrews, okay, I'm sorry.
Yes, sir.
Well,
Sorry,
we-
I didn't give my name when I first
Okay,
pulled
all
up,
right.
sorry.
Kevin, we appreciate it. Anybody have a question for Kevin specifically? All right, thank you for your comments.
Thank
Anybody else here wants to speak for, in favor, or opposed?
I do.
Buster? Okay. All right.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners and distinguished others. My name is Buster. I live in Andalusia, and I just go by Buster. But if anybody wants my full name and my social security number, I'm glad to give it to you. I think y'all know me. I'm much in favor of this application. I speak only for myself, but I did have the privilege going out there and I guess it was this weekend and look over the place, and Jimmy showed me, he's a hard-working man. He's certainly harder working than I've ever been in my life. And you deprive a person of his livelihood and 14 months of being out. All this hearsay that Mr. Andrews brought up, those are factual disputes, but you just, I just got to tell you, I've interviewed a lot of people, and went down to the Gary's restaurant, and I interviewed others that have pros and cons. The detective talked about the tape, which apparently has been missing about that murder. And so just to conclude, I think it's a matter of freedom. Freedom of those who want to use that restaurant, that place, that tavern. It's a community thing that one person told me it's just been a wonderful thing for people to live, to gather together. I'm pretty sure after talking to Jimmy, I only speak for myself. I've got my little differences and I'm suggesting ways for him to clean it up, and I think he will. But I'm asking for Commissioner Northey, I'm asking you to vote yay. Commissioner Barton, I'm asking you to vote yay. I know Chairman White, how you're gonna vote if it's a tie. But I'm asking you, Commissioner Holmes, to please, in the interest of freedom and a person's right to a livelihood, those are conservative values. And I'm asking you, Commissioner Adams, to vote yay. And I thank you very much.
Thank you, Buster. All right. No, it's a public comment.
You offered people to ask questions of me, I thought I could ask questions of him, I'm sorry.
I would welcome it.
No, we're not gonna get a Q&A, that's fine. Unless the commission or the attorney had a question. Anybody have a question for Buster? Thank you, Buster. Mr. Andrews, I think Ms. Cotton wants to ask you a question, if you don't mind. Since you wanted to ask one, we'll return it. Do
you mind coming up here so I don't have to yell? Mr. Andrews, do you live in close proximity to the?
I could throw a rock to the bar.
Okay. How many houses are around the area?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8,
Okay. And
2 vacant ones.
you had mentioned some things about a guy rolling off the bridge and someone running over the bank to your home and some multiple stabbings and other things. Were those hearsay or were those things that you saw?
The stabbings I heard about from law enforcement.
Right.
Running over the bank, that was in front of Colby's house.
Okay.
Took out Colby's mailbox, they got somebody up there to pull it out.
Right.
Running over the bridge, I stopped to offer assistance.
Okay.
Shan Polk come and pulled the guy out of the ditch, and they sent 2 little kids down there to pick up all the beer cans out of the creek.
Okay.
They picked up trash that wasn't even belonging to the guy, so I appreciate that part of it. I mean, when he says this is all hearsay, I don't believe in hearsay.
So
I mean,
when you have an issue or a complaint, I'm assuming y'all don't have a noise ordinance, so
no.
and what time does the music stop and the noise?
Anywhere from 3 to 4:30 in the morning. I go work in my shop because I can't sleep because you can hear the music over the TV at the house.
Okay. If you have a complaint, do you just call 911 or do you?
Sometimes I call 911, sometimes I contact River Falls, sometimes I contact the sheriff's department. I mean, it just depends on the severity. I mean, sometimes I just handle it myself, 'cause I
Okay.
mean,
The reason for asking that is what jurisdiction are you in?
all 3. We're on the line for Red Level, River Falls, and the county takes care of when one of them can't come. We
His
are right
home,
on the line.
his home falls within River Falls jurisdiction. Rocky and Kayleen's back there falls within Red Levels or the counties. That road is the line that
Okay.
they live on.
All right. And if there's an issue at the club, who would answer that call from the
Be
club?
the sheriff's office.
Okay, and that's how far?
From River Falls' jurisdiction,
Mm-hmm.
30 yards,
Okay. All right.
50 tops.
That's it.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
All right. Anyone else want to make comment? During this public? Yes, sir.
I have hired a licensed security team with badges and guns to be out there. And during the time that this was going on, I tried to get the sheriff to let me hire off-duty police officers to come out there and be on the parking lot during the time they wasn't working, on their shifts and stuff like that. He wouldn't allow me to do that.
Okay.
But I do have a security team in place now that will be on the parking lot at all times. Anything like that could have been going on. But we always had to close at 2 o'clock.
Yeah.
I never was, on Saturday night, Sunday morning, I never could stay open past 2 o'clock.
And you did not have a security team in place previously? That's just what
Well,
you've
I
done
had,
going
I
forward?
did have security
your own
teams. They
security,
was
but-
weren't like a licensed security team.
I got it.
That's all these people do.
What's the difference?
Really, just, they're able to carry badges and guns.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where did you find the security team? Is it a company or is it a office?
Yeah, it's the people that run the bail bond.
Okay. Mr. Boyd mentioned something about the tape missing with the shooting. Is that issue disposed of as far as the?
As far as I know, I mean, sheriff could tell us about that. There's not, as far as I know, there hadn't been an arrest.
So, what about a tape missing? Well,
They, the sheriff came there and took my DVR, and they kept it. I had
There was-
cameras all over everything.
what time did that happen?
What time was that? What time? Right around 2:00.
Why were y'all still open?
What now?
Why were y'all still open at 2:30 in the morning?
It wasn't 2:30. Was that Friday night? Yeah, Friday night. We can stay open on Friday night.
So y'all do stay open past 2 on,
On Friday night. So Saturday night, you always have to close at 2:00.
how many people would have been there?
It was probably 150.
And nobody saw anything?
Well, like you see these cameras here, just for instance, the dance floor, I've got cameras pointing every which way. And they come in there and took the DVR and never give it back. Everything that had the recordings of everything that was going on, they took the DVR and never gave it back.
And I apologize for some of my questions. I don't know a lot about this area
Cool.
clearly
Cool.
from some of my questions, but you had mentioned that your license was immediately, I guess, revoked, but you didn't go through how did that happen?
They just told me that he went up there and protested me renewing my license, and they didn't renew it.
Okay, but you don't know the basis of why your license was revoked?
Nope.
Because I mean, we can agree it wasn't time to renew it, that's why they basically just suspended your license.
Right.
Because of what happened at the bar. Okay. And nobody sent you anything in writing that says you're hereby suspended and this is the basis for it?
They just wouldn't renew it. They just would not renew the license.
Okay. All right. But there's been no arrest in that?
As far as I know,
Okay.
no, there's been no arrest.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else want to make comments? Yes, sir.
Well, my name's Rocky Shertler. I live right by the Soggy Bottom, and nothing against Jimmy, but there's been people at 4 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock at our daughter-in-law's house, right next to us, from the Soggy Bottom, drunk, falling down. We hear music at 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, can't sleep, because of all of that. And our son's mailbox has been knocked down about 5 times since the last 3 or 4 years. And as far as the drinks, we get a lot of paper cups too, the little plastic cups, so it's not just beer cans and bottles. But
Okay.
I mean, you say you'll do something, but it gets old.
Okay. All right. Anybody have a question? Thank you. Are there any other comments? Anyone want to address the commission? All right.
Chairman.
Yes, sir.
My name's Ahmad Crittenden. I was a longtime patron of Soggy before I started. They called me to work there a couple of years ago. Some of the stuff I've heard, as far as stabbings and nothing, no. Can't say that it has happened because I would have been aware of it. I've done a very good job cleaning up in this past because they did have a minor situation. His ex-girlfriend called me and said, I have a minor situation, minor sneaking in the bar. I came and I addressed it and I got it taken care of. Cleaned up a lot. As far as the trash on the road, a lot of that can't just be blamed on Soggy. We all know people ride roads, drink. Quickest way to get rid of it, throw it out the window. It's a country road. It happens. I don't know of the wrecks that Andrew, I don't know of the wreck that he was talking about. I do recall one. that I came up on. And as far as getting rid of it or trying to be hush-hush about it, no, I called law enforcement right away. I waited there until they got there. They were nowhere to be found. I told them what had happened. They found the people, and they took care of everything else. It's a good place. We have had some issues. Issues that I know Jimmy's gonna stand by and correct, because I know this man. He's a good businessman, and he likes his reputation. He wants to get everything. He wants everybody to have fun, and wants to have a good time. Like I said, I used to go there before I started working there, and it was fun. It was clean fun. Bad crowd came through, things come in. I understand some things happen. I'm the one that really gets rid of people at the end of the night. And the first thing I do is when the bar closes, like, hey, you gotta go. There's people across the street, y'all gotta go, music, go. Yes, that takes some time, especially when you got about 60 people leaving at one time. It's hard. Like he said, he's hiring more people. And I believe he will do that strongly. That's pretty much it.
How often do you have to call for assistance from the sheriff's department?
Not often.
Okay. Do you have people lingering, loitering in the parking lot after they leave? Have you ever
Some,
called
and
the sheriff's department before?
I have.
How often?
And a lot of times I just threaten it. And a lot of times that threaten makes it get back.
How long have you been working there?
About came about 2.5 years ago.
In 2.5 years, how many times have you called the sheriff's department and asked for assistance?
Personally, twice. They came once. They didn't come the other time.
Okay. You had mentioned that y'all had some issues and that you had a bad crowd come through. Would you agree with me that that was that it's affected the reputation of the place long before the murder?
That's a touchy subject because a lot of people in this area, and I don't want to go into that, will say it's a bad crowd because of a certain reason, but
Well, I'm asking you, you're the one that used the term that a bad crowd came through.
I'm not judging a bad crowd because of a certain reason. I'm judging a bad crowd because of actions, not color of skin.
Okay. Well, what did you mean by bad crowd then?
A little defiant. A lot of them challenge me, but but I shut it down every time. Mostly that. As far as we were very strict on letting liquor and stuff leave. We had people right there at the door grabbing. I mean, I've gotten almost in some situations because I've just snatched a drink out of someone's hand. They want to get mad. I can't help you. Just pay for it. You know the rule.
How many people are monitoring who leaves? Just you?
No. At the end of the night, everybody's watching everything. Like there's usually one door
Okay.
where everybody's leaving because I'll lock the back doors and then.
How do you explain all those plastic cups in their yards and beer bottles? It can't be just all passerbys.
I can't necessarily say that they didn't have it before they came. I don't know what plastic cups he's talking about. I don't know what color, what version.
Okay.
I'm not saying that they wasn't there. I'm not saying that at all.
So, so y'all do stay open past 2 on,
On Friday nights, if there's a decent crowd, if it's going good, we'll keep pushing, but it's usually dying down. Now, some nights it has been like 4 o'clock on a Friday night. But as far as staying there till the daylight, no, because I had a full-time job and I want to put up with it.
okay, all right. And so if y'all were to get the private license, that will put you open on Sundays as well?
If he would want to open on
Okay.
Sunday, he could.
And,
yes.
and I'm trying to figure out how it would change things with a private license. I'm assuming that you can stay open past 2 that
'Cause
Sunday morning?
This area, it pertains to what area you're in. This area, Saturday night's the party night, and we always have to close at 2. I feel like that's the main thing out of it, because 2 o'clock, that's 2 o'clock, that's when the party's good, people drinking and having a good time.
Okay,
And then it shuts down.
thank you.
All right, thank you. Yes, sir. I don't see anybody else that feels the need to make remarks.
Can I ask Mr. Myers to come back and let me ask one question?
Jim, you come back again?
Yes, sir.
All right.
You don't live in proximity, your home, of this
Gant,
site at all?
Gant.
You do?
21.
Yeah, but what I'm saying, you don't live right close to the Soggy Bottom.
No, sir,
to the
I live in
building
Gant.
itself. My question to you is this. If somebody else owned this business and you did live where one of these gentlemen live, with your children, your wife, your family, would you feel comfortable with that? Knowing what you know now?
Well, I never really knew it was that bad. I mean, they say that, but I never really knew it was that bad. I know that I've spent hours taking people home that had had a little bit too much to drink, and their cars would stay on the parking lot. You know, I've spent a lot of time doing that. We actually had a cab service at one time that I could call and get them to take people home and everything. But I just know with private license and everything, things will be a whole lot better. Being able having to have these security people on the parking lot and within the bar and stuff like that.
So are you telling me you would feel comfortable with it or you would not?
Well, it wouldn't bother me. I mean, the people right across the street, I actually had a letter from them and forgot it. But people right across the street hadn't had a problem with it. They lived directly across the street from the bar.
What's their name?
Woodley.
Jim, what is the difference in restrictions on the lounge license you had and the private club license that you're asking
Well,
for?
the biggest thing is if somebody's in there, if they're not doing like they're supposed to, they can be voted out and can't come back.
Okay.
The other way, you know, if you come up there, you have a valid ID and you're not drinking too much or, you know, pass a breathalyzer, I have no choice but to let them in.
Okay.
And I also know that bartenders can be held liable if you allow me to come in there and get intoxicated.
Right.
And then you allow me to leave. I know you can be held personally, or the bartender can be held personally liable.
That's when we always breathalyze people when they come in. If they appear to be drinking already, we always breathalyze them. And
What about when they leave?
if they appear to be, if they don't have a designated driver or whatever, I normally take them home.
All right. What else, Tom?
That,
All right, thank you,
Thank
Jim, again. All right, with no objection, we will end public comment.
Does
You-
the
okay, go
sheriff
ahead.
have anything, any word on anything that was said?
This, the actions of what took place was before I took office or anything. I will assure you, whatever the board decides or everything, the sheriff's department will do what it has to do to enforce the law and to maintain order.
Okay. Anyone else? Any objection to closing the public hearing? All right, we will move on into the rest of our agenda. The agenda has that item set under old business, in just a few moments, so. We have next scheduled public comment from citizens, on issues, and we have with us Jared Wiseman of Central Square Technologies. And Jared, we're gonna recognize you at this time. And, if you have thoughts on the, license, it's too late. You have to tell us about something else. Thank you for being here and for being patient.
No problem.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. How are you?
Good.
Well, hopefully it'll be a little bit of a lighter topic. So I'm here basically to tell you a little bit about what the Sheriff's Department's looking to purchase. I answer any questions that you have regarding them getting a records management system or replacing their jail management system and adding mobiles into the deputies' cars. So, let's give you a little background. Currently, Covington County 911 is using our computer-aided dispatch system. So when you call 911 and you get a vehicle dispatch or a deputy, they're using our system. And our system's unique. We're a managed server, managed services. So we actually provided Covington County 911 with our hardware they have it on premises. Well, within that hardware, our application is actually a single application. So although they're only using computer-aided dispatch, they actually already have records management and jail management software in that hardware that they have sitting at their 911 center. So the sheriff is proposing to actually access that hardware. So he won't get any new hardware, and he's gonna save a lot of money by doing so. So you don't have to buy any servers. And for the life of being a customer of ours, we replace that hardware forever. So if that hardware ever breaks, if it needs an upgrade, as long as you're paying your maintenance, that hardware's covered forever. And so he's actually not paying for that portion of it because the 911 center is already doing that. He's just paying to access that hardware. So currently, some of the stuff that he doesn't have that he's gonna get is looking at is putting mobiles in the vehicles. So when you talk about putting mobiles in vehicles, you're talking about having deputies, not only having automatic vehicle location. So computer-aided dispatch system will now be able to see where those vehicles are within the county, right? Not only, so whether they're on the radio or not, you can see where they are, so increasing their safety. They're also gonna be able to do, when they get a dispatch call, that information is being pushed to the vehicle. So now inside the vehicle, they can see all the call notes, they can see alerts, they can run NCIC, which is the way you run a background on somebody if you pull them over. You're gonna be able to do that through the vehicle, not just through a radio. Also, since it's one application and one system, the information that they're gonna be seeing flows straight through the jail. So now you're talking about Covington County 911 dispatches a call from the vehicle, they'll be able to see that call, they'll be able to take that information that's already been entered, they'll be able to enter that into a report, complete an arrest, and before they're even at the jail can have that information to book somebody. You talk about increasing not only time and safety as the information flows through. Really, that's just like a quick, I can probably talk about our software forever and bore you to death. Just kind of want to give you like a really high-level view of what the system is, how it's accessed. You know, there's a sole source letter in here to show you there's nobody else who can access our server, who can, you know, it's already at Covington County 911. Nobody else who can take that information, have it seamlessly flow straight through, because it's actually one application, he's just accessing it.
And you said not have to obtain equipment because it's provided by 911. Is there a different equipment that goes into the vehicles or at the offices here, or no?
Yeah, vehicles we just, you know, have a standard laptop can access the.
So what he already has would accommodate that.
Correct.
Anybody have questions for Jared on this? You know, we have reviewed it in the past, and
I do have one.
Yeah, that's
Are you on a
fine.
purchasing cooperative?
In Alabama, no.
Okay. That's my only question.
okay. No, talk briefly to the sheriff about this. I think he would love to upgrade to this, especially because of its interfacing with the 911 who handles all of his dispatch. And so certainly we want to look at it again, review it again with, I don't know if there's new information from before, but at least updated information that may make a difference in where we are. It's a you know, pretty substantial cost. It may not be bad in the industry, I'm not saying it, but for a budget, it's substantial. So I think the way the commission would like to do it is to come back in the future and discuss cost and the budget and see how that fits in.
Yeah, he's saving significant amount of money by accessing. If he would have gotten this, like if you would come to us and just say, hey, we would just want to purchase this system
Outright.
without having 911 system would be substantially more.
Did 911 already have Zerker before, or they were looking at moving to Zerker?
No, they're
Purchased it a
they're
year
actually
ago.
live with
They
it.
have it now, but did they have it when we considered it a year or so ago?
They were considering it at the same
Okay,
time,
so they had not
and
made
they
a
followed
commitment.
through with it.
Correct.
Okay.
They kind of waited till they go live and see how it went and
Okay.
whatnot. And we have many other customers in the Zerker platform, so he's gonna be able to do data sharing as well. So we have 7,000 customers throughout the country, and he's gonna be able to not only check John Doe, right, when he pulls them over, but you can take any of our other customers that's within our system and check them as well.
Anyone else? Sheriff? Yes, sir.
It also comes with a package that, each inmate would have a scan, a wristband scan for each inmate, so we can ID the inmates easier for their medication. And, also it comes with a camera package that automatically puts the picture into the system and everything. It's got a lot of things that our other systems
just add on to that also, since it's a complete integrated system, when they're in the field, they're gonna be able to see all of their inmate photos in the field, which is huge, because, you know, the recidivism rate and the people that you're usually dealing with now are the people that already been in the system. And so, you know, from the field, they're gonna be able to be on a call and say, hey, you know, I don't, Boo Boo is the guy who, I don't know his real name, you know, but Boo Boo did this. Well, they can go in the system right there in the vehicle, search Boo Boo. If there's any guy who had a tattoo or any of that information that was in jail, they're gonna have that information to do that investigation right there in the street, instead of sending it back to a detective and having to, you know, really delay that process. Because I was law enforcement for 10 years, and it's really important to be able to follow up on information that's live now. You talk about the shooting that was here. You know, if you had any little information or leads, you know, they can pull up the picture of an inmate right there in the field if they say, well, is this the guy? Is this what, you know, is this what you were talking about? So it's just really a fantastic investigative tool in the field.
Okay.
Where does all your information, where does it pull from? Everything that goes back to your server or whatever, where does it, who keeps that up? Where do you get that information?
So the physical server is at the 911 center, and I'm not sure if they have I think they have a backup as well. I don't know how their contract is. Physical server's there, but we actually manage it. When I say management, we make sure that all the software updates, so we do 4 upgrades a year. We do those upgrades for you, so you're never a version behind. You get free updates with that server. Like I said, we manage the hardware. So it's really, we take all you have to do is provide internet connectivity to the server, and we manage go ahead, sir.
So the database is Covington County specific, but it
Correct.
sounds like you have a broader database.
So yeah.
That's what I think
Yeah.
he's
Where do you
asking.
get your,
So that's
is it a national
platform.
database or is it a,
Yeah, so
where
we
does
have
this all feed from?
So we have a
How do you get it?
platform called Police to Police, and allows agencies to opt in and to opt in as much as they want. So you get to share as you can decide. It's your data. We don't tell you what to share, but if you'd say we're willing to share all of our data, well, part of that agreement is if you want to see people's data, you got to share your data. It's just kind of, you know, that's how everybody has to play well together. We don't want agencies just say, oh, we just want your data. So yeah, so like for instance, Shelby County, Alabama, they signed with us. They're going to go live next year. You know, anybody who they come across in their records, because when you run somebody, let me give you a little background. When you pull somebody over and you run them, you're only going to get the information if there's a felony arrest. That's all you're going to know. They've been arrested for a felony. So, but there's so much information that you can get from regular records, a crash report, a citation, right? Because that's information you're collecting about people. And so when you get to share those records management through like a police-to-police platform, that's how you get the good information or intelligence about people. Because, you know, there might be somebody who had law enforcement contact but was never arrested. You know, I mean, it's a famous story. Ted Bundy got caught because of a parking ticket. You know, somebody gave him a parking ticket and they were looking for a certain car. When they started going through all the records, that's how they found him. So it's just kind of that information. And since we're the largest vendor in this industry with over 7,000 customers, we can really leverage that power.
Anyone else?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
We
sir.
appreciate you coming, Jared.
Please let me know if you have any other questions.
We certainly will. We'll be in touch, I'm sure, through the sheriff in coming weeks. All right, next is public comment from other elected officials, and I know the sheriff's here. He's had the floor once. We'll offer it again. Anything else you want to bring?
I don't have anything
Okay.
right now.
All right, Judge, you? Judge, certainly.
Real quick, y'all get into me here. We're fixing to send out 35,000 tax notices to all the citizens that own property in Covington County, and we will do that September 30th, and you should receive it around October 1st or 2nd. And we're gonna collect $12.3 million between October 1st and December. I wanted to mention one other thing. I gave y'all a software package, but it's such a major decision for the county to do this. I want a little more time. Found another vendor that's in several counties up in North Alabama, one of them being Madison County, which is a very large county, but it's also got small counties too. I want to look at them before we, pull the trigger on making that decision, because it impacts everybody. and it's expensive, so I'm trying to do the best I can, so I wanted to let y'all know
So
that.
you just come back to us when you have.
Yes, sir, I'll come back to y'all maybe in a
Okay,
couple of
good.
weeks. Thank you,
Thank you, Chuck. Under consent agenda, approval of minutes for August 27. Yes, sir.
We have one more person from the public. I'm not sure. Were you wanting to discuss something with the commission, Mr. Sutton?
I'm concerned, Porter Harris Loop. You aware of it?
Yes.
Joe's aware of it? Scott's aware of it? Y'all wanna talk about it now?
I didn't know if it was a public comment or.
Well, nothing was scheduled, but certainly we can recognize you. If you want to address something now, that'd be fine, if there's no opposition.
Good morning. How are y'all doing this morning?
Good.
I had a little issue here when, I just found out about it. You don't ever know, no matter what kind of research you do, but you can find out later. Put a speed bump up. So this is what we're all concerned about. I live over on Porter Harris Loop. I purchased this land back in September. I called Joe before I bought it, done a title research on it. They said there's no easement on there for the county. Am I correct, Joe?
I think that's right, up there with Lynn on it. He's the one that does all that.
And I had Joe, Wayne Bush, do a title search on it before I bought it. And the only time I found out anything about this, when I put speed bumps up there, to protect my young'uns and grandbabies. They fly up and down that damn road, I don't care what time of day it is. There's 7 houses, 4 houses back up in there. And they got another easement around the other way, it was guaranteed, was granted to the county back then. And so this road I'm talking about, it was never a road, it was just a public road, driveway. And it was issued to let the bus go around because our kids were riding on the bus. And so the county took it upon themselves to start grading it. Nobody gave an easement. So I like to see where the easement
So
was
would
granted.
Just
So what are you proposing, that we discontinue maintenance of it?
Yes.
And, but there are other
But they got another
citizens that
easement.
live in the section that we're asking.
No, they don't have to cross that road, no, sir. It's in my front of my yard.
Okay.
It's cutting my yard in half.
Is it part of the loop though?
It's part of the loop, but it's never was a loop.
So if you if you filed a petition to vacate it and close it, what you're saying is there's still access, there just won't be the loop anymore.
Okay, why I got to put signs up, it was never granted.
Okay. What's the name of the road again?
Porter Harris Loop.
Loop, okay.
Hey, Gary, I met with Mr. Tommy's daughter out there to discuss the road, and I was discussing with her, and I gave her the option as well, and I'm sure she probably told you
Yeah.
about even a closing of the road. I gave the procedures how to close road and asked what constitutes a public road. And like you said, and I was telling his daughter, and she was in agreement, just like Mr. Tommy's saying, she didn't understand how the county can just take over a road. Well, like I was telling her, you know, almost every road in the county, most of these don't have any deeded right-of-way. Most of these are by prescriptive deed, and there's 3 ways this constitutes the county becoming ownership of a public road. And the one that 90% of the cases are, just like Mr. Tommy's saying, is the one that the county started blading, and by public law, anything over 20 years is deemed if there's no opposition, and the county does regular maintenance on that road, then it becomes the county's road by prescriptive deed.
Right.
And therefore it's a public road.
So any idea of how long the county has maintained this road?
And I went back and, Bragg was the commissioner back several years, and I went back and even on Google Earth, and I gave his daughter the pictures, to show that the county has maintained that road since, I know, 97, and Bragg said it was done, I know, prior to his time as well. But I'm like I told your daughter, I'd be glad to close it if y'all are in agreement to get all the landowners in agreement to sign.
I gotta have landowners. I am the landowner.
Well, because
I'd say 30 years plus.
we know it's been maintained, at least based on what Lynn has found, it's been maintained for 22 or more years. 22 or
Who
more.
gave them the easement?
Well, regardless, if it's been maintained, then the public begins to consider it a public road, and the law considers it a public road, regardless of the deeding.
Who owns the land behind who else accesses your
Well, they
property?
got another road around.
Right.
That was granted, we gave the easement to that property. And that's one they're supposed to use.
So if we determine that, yeah, by law, it's county owned for whatever reason, then there are procedures we have to follow to vacate it. We can't just vacate it. So we'll just have to look at that, determine a little closer, get the attorney to work with.
And Mr. Tom, if you want a petition to have it closed, we can go through proceedings on doing
That
that.
would at least start it, and then we'll have to decide what process we have to follow. So I would encourage you to do that, and if there are other landowners anywhere around it that agree with you, get them to sign on the petition as well. Petition us to close.
I own most of that property right there,
Most of it.
and that goes right straight through that yard before I purchased it. That's why I got with Joe.
Okay.
And how do you find this out if it ain't documented?
Yeah.
And so, now I gotta go find a lawyer to take
No.
this.
No, we're saying our attorney will look at it, and then we'll give you some direction on what the next steps are. We're
On
not
the
trying to make it
process.
hard for you, we just wanna make sure what we do is in compliance with the law that dictates what we can do, and then we'll tell you next steps. No, you shouldn't have to go hire an attorney for
Okay,
now.
Lynn's talking about putting signs out there. You put signs out there all you want.
Yeah, well, let us look at it and see what options.
And I told her I'd do what I could for her, and that's one step, and I've got them ordered, and hopefully they'll be here
The only
this
thing
time
that
of
slowed
week.
them down is speed bump.
Yes, sir.
But on this side over here, that wasn't speed bumps, that's for water rain off.
Okay,
Cause it washes that road out. Every time the county comes and graded it, I had to go back there and fix it.
okay.
You can call the county all you want to, but they don't come fix it. It's diddly, till it's too late.
Okay, all right.
I'm just
Thank you.
saying.
We appreciate it, and we will get back in touch with you after we review it a little bit, if that's okay.
Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else have, anything that we need to bring? All right.
Thank you, sir.
So we do have the minutes from the August 27 meeting. The commissioners received those by email, and we would entertain a motion to correct those or approve those.
Motion to approve.
I'll second.
Motion and second to approve the August 27 minutes. All in favor, aye? Opposed, same sign. All right. The next item under old business is consider ABC license, and I'm gonna ask Ms. Stephanie to give us the kind of some direction on this and what her proposal is.
I've already discussed with Ms. Myrick, Mr. Myrick said that he knew that, it's proper at this point for us to go into an executive session at the end of, our meeting so that, the commissioners can deliberate and come up with a decision. And then after that, I'll personally call Mr. Myrick and also go back and look at what proper notice is in case it needs to be sent certified. So that, if need be, Mr. Myrick would know when that decision came out because it's time sensitive, and if he was to disagree with the decision, he would have 14 days from the date of that notice to appeal to the circuit court.
Now, is that based on the appeal of our action or the appeal of the ABC board and the government? Okay,
So, and then the trial court has the authority to, if it's a negative decision or you disagree with whatever the decision is, then the circuit court has the authority to reverse the commissioners if whatever the decision is arbitrary and capricious, meaning that it was for reasons that were not based on relevant factors.
so her recommendation is that we go into executive session. I would propose that we do that at the very end of the agenda. But we also have on the agenda, considering this item, and if commissioners choose to consider it, now in the open meeting, we certainly could do that, and you have that right, if anybody wants to take action. Do I need a motion to go into executive session?
Yes, it has
So-
to be each one of them.
So we'll,
I'd encourage you to go into an
Okay.
executive
So-
session. That's a lot of information to go through.
Yeah.
It's almost like deliberating as you're a jury, looking at all the factors and coming up with a decision that isn't arbitrary or based on factors that are, personal rather than more objective of what's in the best interest and health, safety, and welfare of your community.
So the attorney's recommended executive session. Is there a motion to enter executive session at the end of today's agenda? So we'll continue to consider the other items. Is there a motion?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All right, there's a motion and a second, and we'll vote by roll call on going into executive session. What I understand, just to be clear, is that we will not come back out of that executive session and make a decision of any kind in the open meeting. We'll come back into this meeting strictly to adjourn. There won't be further action. Is that correct? And then she'll notify everyone. So there's a motion and second, and we'll vote District 1. Kenneth, you want to vote yea or nay to go into executive session at the end of the meeting today?
Yeah.
Okay. District 2?
Yes.
District 3?
Yes.
District 4?
No, I'm ready, but I understand.
Okay. So there's a 3 votes yea and 1 vote nay to go into executive session. All right. He left you, didn't he? If he's driving, you're in trouble. All right. Thank y'all. All right. Going kind of long, and I guess we're okay. Let's see how quickly we move through a couple other things. And if we need to, then we'll recess, or if somebody needs to now, we certainly can do that. All right, next on the agenda is consider board appointments. We have before us the Department of Human Resources Board, and the County Commission has, page 14 is the list of who presently serves, and 3 members, 6-year terms. Those terms expire in just a few days. And that's Wallace Bush, or Joe Bush, we might know him as, Nikki Guilford, and Faye Seitler. Commissioners, y'all have thoughts on these appointments?
I make a motion, we reappoint all 3.
Motion and second. Anybody else have a question on these, concern? Want to make additional nominations? There's a motion and second. All in favor of reappointment, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Those 3 will be notified that they're reappointed to 6-year terms. And like all of our other boards and commissions, we appreciate them volunteering their time to serve our community and make Covington County better. Next is consider transfer of vehicle. And I'll call on Karen to give us details on this.
This was for the Sheriff's Department, but I believe due to some medical issues at the end of last week, I was unable to get the listing from the sheriff, and I think that'd be something we'll need to put on as old business for the next meeting.
Okay. We'll shift it to the next meeting then. All right. Annual bids, page 15 through 19. What are the bid items that we have? Traffic marking paint, and limestone and granite, and heavy-duty pipe, plastic, and then recycled pipe. Lynn, all of these are in your area. We also have asphalt bid.
Yes.
Anything in particular we want to look at? Do we need to take them up one by one?
We'll do them one by one.
All right, let's do that. Then we'll start with paint, marking paint.
This is our local bid here for our traffic stripes, since we do have a paint truck here in our county that we do utilize. We just had one bid, and I recommend the award go to Ozark Materials, LLC, out of Greenville.
Okay, you see the pricing that's listed here for us? $8.20 to $9.50 a gallon, I guess, depending on the color. And that's in line with what we paid last year. Okay. There's a recommendation that we award that bid to Ozark Materials as the sole bidder. Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Second. And second, Joe. Questions for Lynn? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay.
All right, the second was a limestone and granite bid. We split this. Dunn Construction I recommend their a bid for the award for this limestone, and we actually split the granite bid between Johnston Trucking and Mid-South Paving. And I recommend that these 3 vendors be awarded this contract.
Is that unusual that we are splitting on the line, the,
Granite, we don't buy a lot of granite. Granite's more for fair-laid projects. And we do buy granite for our, and we generally pick it up ourselves there at the quarry. But it's not uncommon. It's just the way it broke, the way the numbers came out.
the number, okay.
Yeah.
So the recommendation is to award limestone to Dunn Construction and divide the bid, the award between Johnston Trucking or
And it's,
FOB here and then Mid-South to picking it up at the plant, it looks like.
Yes.
Okay. There a motion to award the bid as recommended.
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and second. Anybody have questions? Want to clarify anything on this? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay. Next is on plastics. We're gonna handle that as one or separate again?
We'll do this separate. Again, this is our joint bid with our 19 county southeast region, joint bid that we put out. And I recommend Southern Pipe and Supply for the heavy duty plastic pipe.
Okay, you see the comparisons there and they're the low bidder. Is there a motion to award heavy duty plastic pipe to Southern Pipe and Supply?
I'll make that motion. I'll second.
Motion and second. Is Southern Pipe the local, is that a local vendor, is that right?
Yeah.
Make sure I was, understood that. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, carried. Recycle pipe.
All right, recycle pipe, this again will be a split bid between two, just where the pricing's worked out. I recommend the recycle pipe for 12-inch to 24-inch be awarded to Southern Pipe, and the 30-inch to 48-inch be awarded to Core and Main.
I'll make that motion.
There's a motion, and, is there a second
Second.
to award as recommended? Anybody have questions? There's quite a disparity on that very last, that 48-inch item in there. I was wondering if there was an error made on that submission, but regardless, it is, everything else looks reasonable, so. So the motion is to award the first four items to Southern Pipe and Supply, the last four to Core and Main. There is a motion and second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Carries. Next is asphalt.
All right, next is our local, this is one of our local bids, and we did not have a bid on our MC7, which is our prime for just preparing our base. But now what we shoot our rock with for our pothole patching is our CRS2 emulsified, and I recommend Ergon Asphalt and Emulsions be awarded this bid.
They were the low bidder at $1.76. The next lowest bid was $1.79 roughly, so. What will we do on the MC70? Will we just rebid that?
It'd be a purchase on a case by case, as long as I'm purchase over 15,000, we can stay within the bid law like that.
So recommendation is to award this, to Ergon. Is there a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
I'll second.
All right, motion and second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lynn. Next item on the agenda, and then we'll take a 10-minute recess, if that's okay. All right. Let's discuss the solid waste program. Karen, I'm gonna ask you to
Okay.
lead us in that conversation.
As you all are aware, we've taken over this program from the health department earlier this year, and it's down to the time that we need to start getting exemption letters out in the mail to the people that want to apply for the exemption garbage service. And so I need y'all to appoint someone to be over that program and get those letters out.
All right, do you have a
Preferably
recommendation?
not me.
Do you have a recommendation?
I've talked with Susan as EMA director, and I believe that's something that she is willing to take on for her department, she and Frank.
I make that motion.
There's a motion.
I'll second.
The motion is that it be handled by the EMA department, the EMA / all that other stuff department. we appreciate their willingness to work with us, because this is new, and it's a burden, at least for a window of time, it's a pretty heavy burden, but then hopefully it'll level off. And I'm sure you get, processes in place, it'll get easier year to year. Motion and second, what else?
And of course,
Related.
compensation for that effort.
There will be, okay, and that's, I think that compensation is factored in the budget,
It is.
so. There's a motion and second. If there are no other questions or comments, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We'll recess for, 10 minutes and start back, if that's okay, at 25 after 10. Thank you.